Oh, no, it's not. We're live. Yep.
Had the same deal. Had some people in the intersection ran. This guy didn't deal with walking the other line. I come on a bend and the lights. I got out and got him right away. They found it dead the next day.
So we Patty get ready. Yep. One day a week.
On this meeting in order, I have Supervisor Drassi lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
And
Needed him.
Ask you to do the roll call.
Time for having.
Supervisor Conover.
Here.
Supervisor Leggett.
Here.
Supervisor Diamond.
Here.
Supervisor McDevitt.
Here.
Supervisor Bramer. Supervisor Bruno. Supervisor Driscoll. Supervisor Frazier. Here. Supervisor Garassi.
Here.
Supervisor Smith.
Here.
Supervisor Dickinson.
Here.
Supervisor Merlino.
Here.
Supervisor Stroud.
Here.
Supervisor Wild.
Here.
Supervisor McGowan.
Here.
Supervisor Beatty.
Here.
Supervisor Steck. Here. Supervisor Thomas.
Here.
Supervisor Runyon. Here. Chairman Garrity.
Here.
Quorum is established.
Okay. First item of business, motion to approve the minutes of the April 21st meeting, subject to correction, and the May 11th meeting, subject to correction by the clerk of the board. Somebody make motion by Supervisor Smith. We have a second. Supervisor Runyon. Any discussion or correction? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Next, we have the presentation of the employee of the month. And this month, it's from the DA's office. It's Mano Athanito. Mano. You want to come forward? You. Congratulations, and I know Jason wants to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we've already done our picture.
Okay.
All right, so this is my chance to torture Mano. And it is, I'll tell you, it's an unusual position to be in where you're talking about someone that you've worked with closely for so many years. But I'm glad I've got the opportunity. Give me a couple of minutes and then I promise we'll move on so you can get to the other matters. But I do think it's important that you hear a little bit about Mano and what she does. Some of you know what she does and have been probably involved in some of the work that she's done for the county. And her work really goes beyond the county because victims of crime can be people that have no connection to our county other than they're passing through. I looked up to see, I thought, well, how long has Mano worked for the county? And this morning I checked, and this marks her 200th month as a member of Warren County. So she's learning the ropes and getting the hang of things. And when I was thinking about it, and she came over from Rape Crisis, where she did almost 10 years doing that work in Washington County. In those 200 months, Warren County didn't recognize Employee of the Month initially. So that became something along the way. And I think that Mano could have been nominated for any single month that she's worked for the county. 200, she would be someone who could have been eligible and deserving. So what does Mano do? Mano is the director of the Crime Victim Specialist Program that the county has. There are 2 employees full-time, Mano and Michaela Chapa. Michaela couldn't be here because her sister's getting married tomorrow. Mano is the leader of that group, and her job is a unique job in probably like no other in the county. Most jobs, when you do them, there's experience makes you better and it makes the job a little bit easier. Mano's job isn't like that. You might get more experience and you might be really good at it, but it never gets easier. And I would argue sometimes it gets harder because there's an accumulation of grief and challenges that Mano is dealing with on the front line every single day. This morning, she was on the phone with a victim. This afternoon, she has an appointment with a victim, and an ADA is going to be a part of that meeting. So a little bit about Mano. Mano is a mother. She's got 2 kids. One's in college, the other's, well, I guess he's graduating and has graduated, and the other's just graduating high school now. She is that person that when something awful happens and a crime has occurred, victims are going to be meeting with and talking to Minot frequently. And I just want to give you an idea. What does that mean? Well, Minot and I worked on a case years ago when I was in ADA, where a stranger broke into her residence, pushed in an air conditioning unit. That woman was deaf, and she spoke a dialect of German Sign Language. And that was the victim that Minot was presented with that day. It was a rape case. We were able to have a successful prosecution. And Minot and I together really had a challenging navigation working with this poor woman who she had no way to communicate in the traditional sense, and she didn't even speak American Sign Language. When I told you that she doesn't just help people in Warren County, I can think off the top of my head, numerous people who were foreign exchange students who were killed. And these happened to be they were from England. They were killed by a drunk driver. We had another couple of Mongolian students who were struck by a drunk and high driver, and they were severely injured, hospitalized for months with severe brain trauma. Minot was in on both of those cases right at the forefront with me. One of those cases went to trial. And so Minot carries that case through, not just through the trial. So that's got to be over 10 years ago now. That case has gone all the way through. And those families from England that she's made connections with, they're in touch with her today. I guarantee that she'll be talking to them in the next couple of months. Her relationship with victims makes a huge impact on those people that are suffering. I've had numerous cases with Minot where she and I have driven to medical facilities to meet with people who've been shot, who've been hit by drunk drivers. We met with a man, I think he spent almost a year in a medical facility because he was left for dead by a drunk driver who then fled into the woods. And we couldn't bring him to the grand jury because he wasn't physically able. She helped me, and we were able to conduct a videotaped interview permissible by the court. That's the kind of work that Minot does on a regular basis. In 2017, I became the district attorney. And since then, I counted it this morning, we have had 11 homicide cases in Warren County. Hard to believe. 3 of them involving children less than 10 years old. Minot's in on every single one of those cases. Every single one of those cases is a devastation for a family, for our community. And Minot's dealing with that each and every time. It's incredible. And I wish I could say that's it. That's all she does. Minot has a special relationship with children who are victims of sexual assaults and sex crimes. She works with the care center, and she is a regular participant at care center interviews where children who have been allegedly these victims are interviewed, and these lead to prosecutions. She works with our sex crimes prosecutor, Ben Smith, every single day. And many of these meetings are exceptionally difficult, challenging meetings. And I just want to mention one case, and I'll move on. We had a case in the last couple of years where a child came forward and she said that her father figure had been sexually assaulting her for several years. It was a really serious crime. It was a Class A felony crime. He partially confessed to that crime, and that child's mother abandoned her. She ended up in the foster care system. Her adult leadership and contacts that she had was Minot, and still does. Minot remains in contact with her. That's the kind of work that Minot's doing. By the end of this, she's going to quit and say, I can't believe I do this. But but honestly, she has unbelievable strength to do what she does every day. She supports people, not just these victims that I refer to. As we all know, if you worked in an office for 200 months, which is many, many years, people in your office go through difficulties and tragedies of their own. Minot is there for them. Minot is the kind of person that we want to all exemplify, and we want to be able to support. I wish I had the kind of resolve that she has. I'll tell you, many times you just want to break down and cry. Some of these cases we deal with, and somehow Minot holds it together. Sometimes there are tears, but she holds it together for those people. She's the strength that they need. So I know I'm saying a lot, but I really feel like it's richly deserved. And I want everyone to know a little bit about a person who's been giving her all for so long in such a challenging and difficult role that she takes on for the county. So I'm super lucky to work with Minot, and I'm really happy that she's being recognized today. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I think everybody would probably be okay going home now after that. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, it is, I'm grateful that I have Michaela. I'm also grateful for the rest of the staff in the office. I mean, you talk about victims, they don't just all come to me. The prosecutors deal with a lot of victims. The legal clerks, everybody in the office speaks with them. Usually via phone. If I'm not available, the girls are really helpful with trying to figure out what's going on with them. What do they need? They contact me if somebody needs. So it's really a very big group effort. So it's not obviously just me. And I'm very grateful. Probably Ben some mornings, probably not so much. Ben and I work a lot together. And I'm very grateful for him. And I'm very grateful to the board throughout the 200 months. It sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but you know, our program is grant funded, so I rely a lot on Office of Victim Services to give us the grant funding for the program. And there's some years where they're very generous and there's some years not so much. And I'm very grateful for the board to always listen to our needs for the program when we come up and talk to everybody in August when it's budget time, and the support that we've had over the years, because you know, when we see numbers come in for grants, I'm like, oh my goodness, like what now? What do we have to cut? And thankfully, we don't have to cut anything. The services are there and it's an important service for the people of Warren County. You know, nobody, I think I'll paraphrase, well, I'll take a quote from Jason's, when we had our crime victims ceremony the other day. Nobody chooses to be a victim. Nobody wants to be a part of that group of people. So it is a difficult job that we all do at the office, because we interject ourselves in the lives of people that are at their lowest and that they have the most difficulty in their lives. And we kind of interject ourselves and ask them to do things and to talk to us. And it's a difficult time. So I'm very grateful that we're able to provide that service for Warren County. And I thank everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll open the floor to any public comment, privilege of the floor. Please just identify yourself and where you live if you wish to address the board on any topic. So the floor is open.
You can just hold on, we gotta turn this on.
Okay.
One we forgot. And now I just gotta admit you in like 5 seconds.
You can step up.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Hausburn. I'm the president of the Warren County SPCA, and I'm from Glens Falls, New York. A couple of weeks ago, we were advised that there was a meeting with the supervisors regarding funding for an SPCA in another county. So we decided that we needed to address the supervisors and let you know that Warren County's SPCA is still here. An SPCA is responsible for animal cruelty and supports law enforcement investigations and criminal prosecutions involving animal cruelty. Citing New York State not-for-profit corporations, Article 14, Section 1403, titled Corporations for the Prevention of Cruelty. Any corporation for the prevention of cruelty to animals may exercise its powers and conduct its operations in any adjacent county in which no such corporation exists until the establishment of such a corporation therein. Warren County SPCA is a registered law enforcement agency with the DCJS. We are incorporated in 1953 and the oldest SPCA in the area. We are incorporated in New York State and our jurisdiction is Warren County. Last night, we were advised that there's a published RFP with a deadline of May 25th. We are asking that this RFP be rescinded or extended to allow us the time to complete the application and consult with our attorney and give her the time to review and provide counsel to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board?
Hello, my name is Linda Clark. I want to start by thanking everyone here for everything that you do. It takes a tremendous amount of time and I greatly appreciate it. I do have a concern I want to share with you. I am concerned about what I've heard in the news regarding New York State, their intention to send the illegal immigrants to upstate New York. I don't know if this is in the works for Warren County, but I just want to call it to your attention. I'm sure you already know. We are already aware that there are other communities planning emergency plans and documents in place to mitigate or stop the movement into their communities. I am encouraging Warren County to put something in place similar. The demand on social services will overwhelm the system. The demand on housing, especially in the hotels, will have an impact on the tourist industry. There is a host of many other issues, including the impact on schools and law enforcement. I am imploring you to put together a plan to stop or mitigate the impact this will have on our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kate Roos and I'm from Glens Falls, New York. And I'm glad I have an opportunity to speak right after the young woman who addressed the issue of refugees and assistance that the community can offer. I've worked with refugee assistance, not in New York State, but in the state of Tennessee. And many years ago, I worked with refugee assistance in New York State. And my parents did not become citizens until I was a senior in high school. Granted, that was a long time ago. But I want to talk about what I hope the Board of Supervisors will do responsibly as representatives of a human community. People who come to this country, wherever that location is, whether they're coming from the southern border, they're coming from New York City, through the Middle East, wherever it is, they are human beings who bring skills, needs, compassion, families, love, imagination to this community that we badly need. The European Union has done an excellent analysis of what's happening to migrants. They've had a huge influx of migrants in Europe, as you may know. And those studies have shown that, I'll just summarize, and there's a lack of experience on the part of housing agencies, confusion of responsibilities, lack of consultation, lack of coordination of support services, lack of funds, and lost opportunities to build on success because they're looking only at the short-term nature of the project. I urge the Board of Supervisors with love, compassion, expertise, experience to form a committee that will look at the current migrant crisis that we may well face, the ongoing migrant crisis that we will face in the future, and to respond as the decent, loving human beings that I believe are sitting in this room.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul Hancock. I live in Glens Falls, and I'm an economist by training. I have a handout. I only have 13 one-page handouts, and so I hope you can copy those. But I ratify what Kate has said. These refugees would in fact add to the economic growth of any community they are introduced into if they are assimilated properly. That's true of Utica. It's true of Buffalo. Their GDP has increased. It's argued that it could go up as much as 4%. These are people who are literate. Venezuela, which is one of the countries that's supplying a substantial amount of these refugees, has a literacy rate of 97%. The United States has a literacy rate of 79%. These are people who are ready to start businesses, who are bringing new ideas, new culture, new food. They could provide a renaissance in downtown Glens Falls or wherever they are brought into. So the population in Glens Falls has been declining ever since 1950, and it was 20,000 then. It's down to 14,000 now. Utica was in the same state. It had a declining industrial landscape. Once it brought in refugees, it rejuvenated their downtown, and the population grew from 2000 to 2020 by 5,000. Here it has been declining since that time, so we're slightly increasing, but the growth rate would be perhaps remarkable. So I'm going to hand this out. I know those are a little bit incoherent. I didn't write a speech, but I apologize for that. But these are, this is the population rate of growth, and compared to Glens Falls and Utica, and the benefit that perhaps would redound to the area. One last point too. Saratoga, for example, went to a meeting of the Saratoga Immigration Coalition at which Mayor Kim was present, and they said they don't have the infrastructure to provide for new immigrants to assimilate them properly. That's true. And it could be said that that's true for this area as well. But I think you have a minimal beginning in the infrastructure that has integrated new people into part-time jobs in Lake George. That could be scaled up. So that permanent employment could be found for those people. Permanent housing could be found for those people. So, and they have skills to add to the construction industry. So, thanks so much.
Thank you. We'll get those out if you, we'll make sure that everybody gets a copy. Thank you very much. Anybody else, please?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak this morning first. Lisa Doster, a resident of Warren County. I also would like to talk about the New York City migrant issue. What areas of Warren County will be accepting migrants or undocumented immigrants? What is our integration plan? Do we have a plan? Who will vet the individuals brought to our county? As a protection to our residents, this must happen for safety and health reasons. This seems to be an emergent issue. Our last emergent issue was a pandemic, and our state moved COVID patients into our most sensitive facilities in our local region, killing many of our residents. That was a really bad plan. Everything needs to be well thought out before committing to any plan. As an employer of this area, how can we employ these migrants? There's a risk that there will be tremendous comp issues. As an employer, do we follow workers? We have to follow workers' comp laws to integrate and employ these migrants. But how can we do that? We need a plan for that as well. How do we educate for integration into society, both children and the adults? Will that education be free? I know the budget for Lake George just passed and our per child costs went up 26%. And it's $40,000 per child. Paid 86% by taxpayers of this area. So we need to educate them. Will this be free? We all know free doesn't really exist. So who is going to pay for this? There has been an increase in people driving without licenses. These people are fined in court and then get back in the car and they drive away. Last year, 2 people were killed walking on the bike path due to being struck by an unlicensed individual. This plan needs to worry about safety issues. There's going to be tremendous safety issues. Then there is our healthcare services. This will create a burden on our local healthcare. And how can we be proactive to make sure current residents get the care when needed, as the influx of uninsured will be creating a burden on our resources? I hope we have a really great plan before we commit to moving forward. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
Diane Collins from Glens Falls. Just to point out that integration was done very successfully in Utica. We have a model that we can investigate and look at. And I certainly support being positive in our thinking about welcoming refugees. Many of these people have traveled hundreds of miles to get here with what they can bring with them, with their children, desperate for a feeling of safety. And these are potential benefits. These folks are potentially beneficial to our community. I think we can move forward with a plan. We certainly do need a plan. And I came today to express my interest in being part of the planning. I think citizens with our concerns should be part of a task force that the county will be setting up, where maybe 200 folks might come up, 200 refugees at first. But I really feel a human and civic responsibility to do as much as we can to incorporate the refugees into our community.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to address the board? If not, we'll move on with the rest of the board meeting, and then the administrator will address the concerns. We have the leadership training program certificate. Anybody?
Yeah, Jessica Burnham has successfully completed skills training in effective team management, leadership essentials, and conflict resolution.
That's not here. Okay, we'll make sure she gets her. Okay, we'll have a public hearing on community development block grant, project number 1197 PF 6-20. I'll ask the clerk to read the notice.
Warren County will hold a public hearing on May 19, 2023 at 10 a.m. at the County Municipal Center located at 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, for the purpose of hearing public comments on Warren County's current community development block grant, project grant number 1197 PF 6-20, Warren County Countryside Adult Home, and grant number 1197 CVPF 12-21, Warren County HVAC MERV 13. The CDBG program is administered by the New York State Office of Community Renewal and provides resources to eligible local governments for housing, economic development, public facilities, public infrastructure, and planning activities with the principal purpose of benefiting low, moderate income persons. The hearing will provide further information about the progress of the ongoing CDBG projects. Comments related to the effectiveness of this administration of the CDBG projects will also be received at this time. The hearing is being conducted pursuant to section 570-486, subpart 1 of the CFR, and in compliance with the requirements of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended.
I'll ask Wayne about planning permit to elaborate just a little bit more on that.
Okay, thank you. As identified in the public notice, this is the second public hearing regarding two grant awards. The grantor agency has allowed us to combine the public hearings that are required into one so that we don't have to duplicate all of this. The two grant awards, one was in the year 2000 fiscal funds and one was in 2021 fiscal funds. They were awarded in 2022. Yes. The first grant was for the fiscal 20 funds were for $300,000 for repairs to the roof at Countryside. The second award was fiscal 21 funds, and that was $810,932 to upgrade the HVAC to MERV 13 requirements, which would deal with airborne contaminants or basically COVID related type particulates. So we had a long involved process to get all of this in place. And the grants were supposed to be done on the 12th of May. They have been delayed, although we are hopefully will be done by the grants will be closed out by the 31st of October. The HVAC, the MERV 13 grant has expended approximately $499,501, I believe, of the $810,000. We just submitted another reimbursement request to the state. So that one is moving along. The roof one ran into some issues with hazardous materials that were discovered in the process. That remediation plan has been in place and work has actually started. We expect those funds to be fully expensed within the next month or so. That the roof itself is, I believe, a $750,000 line item, and so to expend $300,000 of that will be relatively quick. As I said, this public hearing is required of the Community Development Block Grant Program. The negative aspect, and I'll inform the board of this now, the negative aspect of this being extended is that the CFA was just announced, combined funding applications, consolidated funding applications with submission, I believe it's July 28th. Because we have open grants, we will not be eligible to apply under the CDBG program as a county. So I'm going to try to request a waiver to that, but we'll see how that goes. So that's the required part of this, and I'll entertain any questions.
Yeah, I think for the public to know, this is the work being done on Countryside Adult Home in Warrensburg. So
Okay.
Any questions for Wayne or any questions of the board? But the project is moving along.
Yes, it is.
Seeing none, we'll keep this public hearing open for a little bit and we'll move on with the rest of the agenda.
Thank you.
Yes, next up would be Jim Lieberman, Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District Manager, to address the board relative to the closing of the public comment period on the MS4 report.
All right, thanks. So as Supervisor Chairman Garrity mentioned, this is for the municipal separate storm sewer system annual report. Those of you who have been here before know that some of our communities are part of this program. It is not a in or out. You are part of it based on population density and census information. It's dealing with stormwater management in various levels. Warren County is considered a non-traditional because you do not have land use approvals. So that goes to the local communities. So you're dealing really with roads, other building infrastructure, any facilities that the county owns within the defined MS4 area, and that's set by the EPA and New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. The town of Queensbury, town of Lake George are MS4 communities, the village of Lake George is an MS4 community, and the city of Glens Falls. So each one of us, or each one of those communities are submitting the same report based on a plan that is developed at the time of the permit. So this is a permit that is required. You have to be in it if you meet those conditions. Working with various departments, we gather the information, put the report together, but we also work with the departments through the year to get projects completed, specifically Kevin Hajos and the DPW folks. That's where the majority of the information is extracted from and developed. So we announced the availability of public comment on April 24th at our Warren County Soil and Water meeting and at the Warren County DPW committee meeting on April 28th. And to date, we have had no comments on the report. The county has been part of the MS4 program since 2003. So it is 20 years this year. It's a new permit is going to be issued at some point in time by the state. It has been held up for several years due to lawsuits for both being, and this is the wonderful part of government that makes me smile. It has been held up with lawsuits for both being too lenient and too stringent. So it will be worked out at some point in time. Once the updated permit has been approved by the state, then the county will have to take a look and see what is lacking with the new requirements and update the stormwater management plan to be in accordance with the new permits. If you would like to see the report, it's been available at our website and the county website. There's been a hard copy available at the Warren County DPW, at our office, and right here at the administrator's office. If you go to the Soil and Water District website, which is warrenswcd.org, or the county website, you can view past reports. You can view the stormwater management plan, and you can view a lot of information on what communities and individuals and neighborhoods can do to help out our stormwater resources and our natural resources. I wanted to throw a couple highlights out. So we actually had a meeting in September with the New York State DEC. Kevin was part of that meeting. It was virtual and in person for the DEC. And they reviewed what has been going on with the county and seemed to be positive. They could not really come out and say what the new permit requirements are until it's all completed. But I think the county is still headed in the correct direction on this type of work. So I think that's a good thing. The pollinator garden that you saw last year get installed, that Buildings and Grounds put in, we assisted with, our office assisted with, that counts for stormwater management reporting. How does that? Well, you're reducing your footprint of maintenance. You're increasing habitat and biodiversity. You're taking away, that 1,000 square feet of the necessity for applying herbicides there. So all of that is the type of information that gets compiled and put into the report. And lastly, these are the things that you may not think that are important, but I contacted Amy Clute from Self Insurance because Amy sends out notices, and I'm sure many of you receive them in regards to slip and fall hazards or electrical hazards, and those have nothing to do with the MS4 report, but she does include things about spill prevention, things of that nature. So that can be accounted for in the report as well. So any of this information shows progress that the county is making on alerting employees and citizens, because that's really what it's for, and conducting projects such as routine maintenance, stormwater management, increasing the pollinator garden is going to be increased this year. So, it's all important. So even though the program only applies to certain communities, I encourage all of you to apply the same goals of the program and ensure the protection of our natural resources and economic stability. So I would be happy to take any questions or comments.
Supervisor McGowan.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. As always, I really enjoy listening to you. Really, you got your game on all the time. A couple of questions. We have a lot of, I sit on the Queensbury Planning Board. We have a lot of these permeable pavers.
Mhm.
And I happen, I've been bringing up, and I think it's become more of a custom thing, it's the maintenance.
Mhm.
You have to maintain these to make them work. And I have to say that I actually went to a job site. Someone called me to do some work, and I met him in his driveway, and he was actually cleaning his out. It is well, let me say, you better have some serious goggles on and some good air, but, he was doing a phenomenal job and opening it right up, and boy, what a difference. And he said, you know, the same reasons I thought why they clogged. So is that something, you know, we've been pushing on that, but that's a program that people are using in exchange for their square footage on their permeability, you know, making sure that's in the report, but, also the towns, really, unfortunately, somebody's got to enforce
Right.
issues. The other thing, if they talked to anything about changing the 25-year, year storm plans and that, you know, when you're doing that, because with the, I don't want to call them microbursts, but these storm bursts that are coming that hit as hard, and then that's, you know, it's all right if it rains lightly all day long, but when we get these microbursts that comes in and just hits us, and then that water just starts flowing. It's like, are they changing any of the stormwater practices and doing that? Those are.
So the New York State DEC has a stormwater design manual, which, engineers and landscape architects will follow and incorporate for the design work. That gets updated about every 5 years. Rainfall data is calculated and updated yearly for engineers. So there is, yes, what you're speaking of is the high intensity, short duration rainfall that we see where over a course of 2 hours, we'll get 3 inches of rain, and things that are designed appropriately. If you apply them over a 24-hour period, work on paper, but don't necessarily work out in the real world. So updates are done, but it does have to go through a pretty thorough vetting process at the state. And that's where some challenges, both for science and maybe even the legality of having stuff in there for reference material occurs. But yes, there are improvements. So the simplest thing is going back to your question about the pavers and the pavement. Actually, the town, I think it's the town of Lake George, Parks and Recreation has a piece of equipment that municipalities, if they have an agreement with the town, can borrow for maintenance of those types of things. It's a special it's kind of a glorified shop vac. It injects air in and extracts the material out. Kevin Hajos, has a whole entire road that he has to do in parking lot with that. It's not something simple nor easy, but it is a cost of us having a road right next to a lake and wanting to have continued income and natural resources in those bodies of water. So incremental improvements go a long way. And you're starting to see that more and more. Other communities are looking at structures like that. But I also think, and Supervisor Thomas is on my board and he's been on the board for a long time. He has seen that too, that we've gone away from more hardened surfaces to more biofiltration. So what is that? A rain garden type of thing. It's very simple. You get water in the ground, it's not a problem for runoff. So if you can reduce the amount of maintenance that's required for homeowners or municipalities, generally the project is going to go better because it reduces the amount of maintenance that you have. But the fact of the matter is some areas of Queensbury, Glens Falls, Warrensburg, they've been built on for 200 years. And how do we work within that footprint to reduce flooding? Primarily, a lot of people are concerned with that, and improve the water quality. So there's a lot of aspects to it. So always have good questions, Supervisor McGowan.
Thanks for coming up or down.
Anyone else? Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Rick, yes, Supervisor Well. You have a question for Jim?
Not for Jim, but prior speaker. Related to the community block grants and consolidated funding.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that Warren County, it typically engages and provides, the state provides us with hundreds of thousands of dollars in these grants. Our inability to participate this year could be significant impact on our plans and what we can do for our constituents. So what I'd like to request is that this coming Wednesday, I believe it is, the Economic Growth and Development, Wayne and maybe Peter can put together a plan for us, and maybe the administrator also, in terms of how we're going to address our inability to participate in this funding cycle. and identify whether we're going to need to engage our New York State representatives or the like, but we don't want to lose this funding opportunity. So just a request.
Any other comments on the public hearing on the community block grant program? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on that. Reports by committee chairs. I'll give my chairman's report. I attended many meetings, attended the APA local government meeting in Long Lake with Supervisor Thomas. Attended the inter-county meeting in Lewis up in Essex County with Supervisor Thomas. He also attended a joint meeting with Washington County and SUNY Adirondack. Met with the Lake George CBB board and Lake George Chamber of Commerce to discuss the chance for another winter attraction. Attended to obviously the special board meeting of the Board of Supervisors to discuss the Capital District Transit Authority. The county administrator, myself and Don Lehman had toured the plumbing and pipe fitting local 7073 training center over on Luzerne Road. It was very interesting. They had some real high tech items to train potential pipe fitters and plumbers. Mike Jarvis was a great host to us and we enjoyed it very much. Attended an AAT meeting in Minerva this past week. And I would like to announce that the annual meeting, summer meeting will be on June 4th and 5th up in Lake Placid at High Peaks Resort. And last but not least, I'd like to offer my congratulations to Amanda Allen and Samantha Hogan, who have achieved certification status with the New York State Association of Clerks of Legislative Boards. They both had to take over 50 credit hours in 2 years to earn this award, and they're out at a conference right now accepting their reward. I think they should be on their way back.
Pretty soon, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to say the conference happened Monday, but here it is Friday and they're not back yet, so I don't know. No, congratulations, Amanda and Sam. They do an excellent job for all of us here at county board. And last but not least, I received a nice letter from the mayor of Saga City in Japan, and I couldn't do this, but I asked Supervisor Smith if he would interpret it for me. But I'm really just kidding. They did right. So, but we had a good visit with the people from Saga City, and it's nice to have Mark, who had some Japanese in him, and he told me to interpret this if I needed this. So we had a busy month, and I thank everybody. And now I'll go to Supervisor Gerasi for chairman report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was unable to attend the April 25th Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee meeting, but I do thank our Vice Chair, Supervisor McGowan, for chairing the meeting, and I ask him to provide the report. Supervisor?
Well, thank you. Supervisor Gratz, I really enjoyed representing you. I hope I do as good a job as you. I'm really trying to mature myself in your meetings now, but really, criminal justice met, and really it was just a couple of things, really authorizing the agreement for the Secure Watch 24 annual license plate reader, which you've seen on the back of the police cars. Look like cameras spying on you, but actually it's a kind of amazing system of it reads out the license plates and kickbacks and, checks on the cars, inspections, registrations, maybe outstanding warrants. So really, I needed a very valuable thing for the department. So I hope we can get your support on that. Authorizing an agreement with the Chicks Marina, really for our boat patrol boats, which was just an annual thing that we do with Chicks Marina up there. And then the other one is the authorizing the chair of the board and supervisors for the winter county shifts to enter an executive agreement with various vendors and contractors regarding services required. And basically it gives a little influx of, right now with, the differences in, and, small price increases, we've kind of done it in other departments that gives those departments a little leeway. So we can act quicker sometimes on some services that come in at the last minute, you know, and then with a cap limit of anything else that, you know, would have to come to the board. So really, those were the three things that we covered in criminal justice, so I can hope we can get your support. Thank you.
Supervisor Smith, any report? None. Supervisor Dixon.
The occupancy tax committee met and you have three resolutions. 257, 258, and 259. At the appropriate time, I would like to add on to resolution 257.
We'll do that when we do resolutions, when we get to resolutions.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Merlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tourism has nothing really to report today, except for we're doing a great job with our new leader, Heather. She's been out around the community, meeting with, going to board meetings, meeting a lot of people in her office. And in the short time that she's here, I think she's learned that we have a great county. She loves the area, and she's going to do a heck of a job for our tourism department. Thank you.
Supervisor Trout.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, legislative rules and governmental operations met April 28th. And one of the items that we discussed is before you today, which is in resolution 248. Now, 248 says that it's a resolution of the County of Warren requesting that Governor Hochul support legislation that will allow the towns in the county the option to assess all newly constructed condominiums in a manner that reflects the most current market value. This issue was brought to me by my town assessor, Town of Queensbury Assessor Terry Ross, also previous president of the New York State Association of Assessors.
Yes.
Chris Hayes from Bolton and Lori Barber from the town of Lake George. This has been a big issue in New York State that condominiums are given an exception to market value in placing assessment on them. In doing some homework on the matter, I think that the general reasoning was that giving condominiums a tax break, in other words, assessing them on potential value as opposed to market value, essential assessment of, you know, their potential revenue value. It's not fair. I mean, I can give you multiple examples, but one example I give in the resolution before you is a $2.2 million condominium. That's the market value, was assessed at $464,000. So that break in taxes for that condo owner is a burden that the rest of us have to pick up. It's just not fair that condominiums, especially in the Warren County area, where they're often second homes and they're often prices of $1 million or more, get this break in assessment. And again, that break in assessment becomes a burden for the rest of the single family residential owners. So I put together this resolution and it was discussed and supported. And again, the way the legislation moved through the legislature, it's an option for the municipality to take an approach of a market value. It's not mandatory. It's legislation that would give the municipality the option. Furthermore, it grandfathers those that are already getting that tax rate. And so it applies to new condo construction. Going forward, condo should be assessed at market value, just like all the other residential units. So I would hope that you would support this. And if you do, we'll send it on to our New York State legislators who hopefully will bring it forward again because it was brought forward. It was passed by both houses of the New York State legislature and it was vetoed by the governor, except for the town of Greenberg. And I can't understand why the town of Greenberg gets this option and no one else does. So again, we're hoping that the governor rethink that what may apply to New York City may not apply to upstate New York. Okay, so I would appreciate your support on resolution 248. Thank you.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel and higher education met on May 4th. There's two resolutions before you today. The first one is 264. 264 is our attempt to attract a new recycling and solid waste administrator for the county. Our prior one has decided that there were opportunities somewhere else. And we're looking to hire an experienced one, and I hope the support of the board to get this done as soon as possible. Secondly, there's 265. Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion to table that. There's been some new information before us, and I'm not sure if that's appropriate now or later for resolutions and whatever your preference is.
We can do that now. She said, if you want to make.
So I'd like to make a motion to table 265 until next board meeting.
We have a second on that motion to table. Motion by Supervisor Dickinson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Opposed.
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 Do we have a roll call vote on that?
Sure, we'll do.
265.
Your resolutions.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, this is to table resolution 265. Supervisor Smith,
Yes.
Supervisor Dickinson,
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino,
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud,
Yeah.
Supervisor Wild,
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan,
Yes.
Supervisor Beatty,
No.
Supervisor Steck. Yes. Supervisor Thomas,
No.
Supervisor Runyon,
I'm going to abstain because I don't know why it's happening.
Supervisor Conover,
No.
Supervisor Leggett,
No.
Supervisor Diamond,
No.
Supervisor McDevitt,
Yes.
Supervisor Driscoll,
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Drossy,
Yes.
and Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
It passes with 671 in favor, 224 opposed, 90 absent, and 17 not voting.
Mr. Chairman, just for continuation, I might leave this to Supervisor Leggett, but there was a joint meeting with personnel and finance with SUNY Adirondack leaders. And before you was some information about our proposal to increase our funding to the most appropriate level it should be for the county. And Supervisor Leggett, if you'd like to continue with that, when it comes your turn. Otherwise, I'll jump in also. Thank you. Chairman, thank you.
Supervisor, you gonna address that now?
No, I'll do it.
Supervisor McGowan, anything else?
Well, I gave my report earlier. Thank you. Criminal justice.
Supervisor Beatty,
No report.
Supervisor Steck,
No report.
Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Joseph Warren Museum Project Committee met on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, the 16th. The major discussion, our consultant, our engineers, Lobella, were also present. And we discussed the interior of the museum, how it would be arranged, possibly different ways to arrange it, and what would be displayed, et cetera. Also, we discussed fundraising and what would actually be inside the museum. And so it was a good meeting, lasted probably an hour and a half, and I believe there'll be another upcoming meeting in a couple of weeks. After our consultant has come up with some preliminary plans. Yesterday, I also attended the demonstration of a voting machine. And I know I've been a little outspoken about the machines. I think the machines are corrupt, but I was pleasantly I don't know if I was sold, but I was pleasantly surprised with the Hart machine that was demonstrated. They call it the bunker, and looks like it might not be able to be compromised. I'm not 100% sold yet, but I think there's a middle ground there somewhere.
Is that it?
That's it.
Supervisor Runyon.
No report.
Supervisor Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Public Works met on April 28th, represented in your packets by resolution 260 through 264. As was mentioned earlier, we have lost our solid waste coordinator, and we're looking to fill that position just as soon as possible. It's a very important position. We've come a long way with our solid waste efforts. We still have a long ways to go. Mr. Hajos and his staff will cover on this the best that they can, but it's really very important that this position get properly filled just as soon as possible. The two resolutions that I would mention to you, 260. 260 is a resolution that basically says unless otherwise approved by by Superintendent Hajos, when we do a brand new road reconstruction, if we can avoid having people cut into that road with whatever that is that they're doing, we certainly should insist on that. Perhaps Mr. Hajos, if without objection, if I could ask Mr. Hajos just to very quickly, Mr. Chairman, to tell us what this is.
So as Supervisor Conover said, we typically, when we reconstruct or do any new pavement on any of our roads, we have a tendency for, and I'm not going to call out anybody in particular, but some of the utility companies or even some of the towns will go in and open cut our brand new road that we just put down. We don't want that to happen. The perfect example, we did Beach Road back in 2014. We finished a project and National Grid Gas came in and cut open both the bike path and the road in certain areas on Beach Road. So this will create a moratorium just to stop that from happening. Now, if it's an emergency situation, Supervisor Connor, I talked about it this morning. If there's somebody who comes in and puts in a new house and needs a service and the water line's on the middle of the road, there'll be exceptions, but those exceptions will have to come through the approval of the Superintendent of Public Works. But this will stop that, putting in a brand new road and within, weeks, months, or the same year, that road being cut open by a utility company or maybe even a town. I know most of the times the towns is an emergency, but for utility companies, there's not. They just automatically just come in and want to, oh, we're going to put in a gas line now. And that's what happened on Beach Road. And they knew ahead of time that we were doing the Beach Road project, but they came in after the fact to let us know that they were going to put in a gas line.
Thank you. Thank you. And the other resolution that I bring to your attention is a resolution 263. This would allow Revolution Rail to extend a part of their ride experience with electric bikes to just north of the Riparius Road, not including the crossing. As you know, this is it's become a very successful arrangement between the county and Revolution Rail's major economic driver now for that region. And so I would encourage your support for resolution 263. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance Committee met on May 4th for the regular meeting and also on May 5th for the joint meeting with personnel at SUNY Adirondack with our colleagues of Washington County. Before you today are resolutions 234 and 235, the regular boilerplate amendments and adjustments, and then 266 through 275, 8 roll calls altogether. On 266 and 267 is funding for the regional morgue study going forward. 268 and 269 deal with appropriating reserves out of the vehicle reserve and the computer reserve. 270 is for the occupancy tax reserve to fund 25% distributions of occupancy tax revenues. 271 is occupancy tax reserve to fund the Historical Society, Warren County Historical Society for a special event. 272 is occupancy tax reserve to fund SUNY Adirondack Sports Field or help to. 273 is to close cap project for community communications radio upgrade. 274 for correcting assessment chargebacks, and 275 supporting local share contribution for SUNY Adirondack. As Supervisor Wild had mentioned, this is something that went through both of our committees at that special May 5th meeting. There is before you on your table a chart here with what the cost will be at perhaps appropriate time after reports, more discussion can go on what the how this is set up. Perhaps Administrator Tafflin can address the supervisors on that. Also, you will see that there is the mortgage tax report that comes out May of every year. This year in 2023, total distributions will be of $1,013,665. In 2022, it was $1,762,609. That's a difference, a reduction of $748,944, or a 42% decrease from 2023. We all know that 2023 was a very active year. Now, when it came into real estate purchases and refinancing. So to compare with 2021, it was at $1,502,273,000. So we are at about at least a $500,000 less. This affects all of our towns, as we know that in the towns we use this as revenue to offset tax levy. And it goes up and down. Just wanted to point that out and put it into a trend line for you. On May 8th, I went down to Albany as one of the board of directors for the Adirondack Associations of Towns and Villages. They had the legislative day. It was good to be down there and discuss Adirondack issues with the legislators and have our region be recognized as a unique area with unique problems that need to be addressed. As the chairman had mentioned, on June 5th up in Lake Placid, the AATV will have their annual meeting. All town supervisors are invited to come up and hear the presenters. The more information will be online and be sent out to all members of the AATV. And our legislative agenda is online at the AATV website. I also attended the May 4th SUNY Adirondack Ribbon Cut team and want to give a thanks to Tourism Director Bagshaw for coming up to the town Chester, meeting with representatives from the Chamber, North Warren Chamber of Commerce, to discuss local issues. Thank you. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
I will. Supervisor Diamond,
No reports.
Supervisor Deb.
Yes, thank you. Yesterday at our local development corporation meeting, we had an opportunity to meet with Don DeVito, the president and CEO of Kirsch Helmets. I don't know if anyone is aware, but Kirsch Helmets is an organization headquartered here in Warren County, in the town of Queensbury. They produce a product that incorporates a technology that revolutionizes safety and head protection for people that are bike and motorcycle riders. Mr. DeVito yesterday basically told us that they are committed to reducing head injuries in activities where a helmet is used. Hirsch Helmets is currently developing and testing additional helmet designs for use in sports and athletics, motor vehicles, and workplace safety applications. All raw materials and components are sourced in the United States and brought together during their helmet assembly processes. As part of their mission, they proudly support our veterans and our disabled workforce. Again, I think it's important to recognize an industry that is providing jobs in our local community and incorporating unique technology that provides head protection and safety for people that are riding motorcycles and bicycles. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. The Human Services Committee met on April 25th. Coming out of that meeting were resolutions 253, 254, 55, and 56. All of them were related to recreational programs and services. Funding to municipalities, each of the Warren County municipalities, as well as a number of community-based organizations. Those allocations ranged from $1,700 to about $5,000. And again, I urge your support of and consideration support of those 4 resolutions. There will be no business from social services, countryside adult home, veteran services, or youth services this month, so there won't be a human services committee this coming Tuesday. I can assure you that all 4 of those departments are busy doing good work, but there won't be any agenda items or thus a meeting on Tuesday. Cornell Cooperative Extension, those board members who are part of that committee, the next meeting will be on Monday, this coming Monday, at 6 p.m. up in Warrensburg. And without objection, I'd like to ask the interim executive director of John Bow of Cornell Cooperative Extension to do a Reader's Digest version of his monthly report.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Thank you, Ben, for inviting me to do this. It's been an interesting year as interim director. It's almost been exactly 1 year, and we've had a lot of turnover. Our executive director resigned to focus on his health, and I was asked to step in. Since then, we've hired 1, 2 new staff. We've lost 4 staff, mainly because of either health reasons, family health reasons, or greater opportunities. Finding replacements has been a challenge, but we recently hired our new finance coordinator. She'll be starting July 3rd. She currently works for a school system, so she wanted to go to the end of the school system year before she came over. Our community horticulture position was filled, and that family is moving up from Pennsylvania to the Lake Luzerne area starting June 15th. Okay. Interviews for executive director completed Tuesday. Monday, we will find out who that person is. The search continues for a nutrition educator. This has been our greatest challenge, finding someone qualified who doesn't want so much money that we have to break the bank. It is essentially an applicant's market right now. They can get a lot more than we can provide as a not-for-profit organization. So we really need somebody who's committed to the mission and not necessarily to the salary. Upcoming events, a plant sale will be held June 2nd and 3rd. Order forms can be downloaded from the CCE website, and our deadline was extended to May 26th. So if you want some plants for your garden, let us know. Email us, telephone, whatever you got to do. We'll get that order form to you, and we'll be glad to fill your order. We currently have Warren County 4-H youth registering in grades 8 through 12 for a trip called Career Explorations, where they travel from here. They spend 3 days on the Cornell campus. They stay in the dorms. They eat at the cafeteria, and then they go either on a sampler track that goes to many different things, or if they're a little older and have a little bit more of a concept of what they do, they can pick from a series of focus programs. We usually have about 4 to 6 go to that event and have had up to 10. Planning has started for our annual youth fair, which will be held Saturday, August 5th. It is from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yeah, we're probably the shortest fair in the state of New York. But I got to tell you, having worked at other fairs that are week long, usually by Wednesday, people no longer like one another. So a nice short fair is actually excellent for our kids. Show off their projects, their program results, and to just get together with one another and actually have a good time, not have the pressure that often comes with much longer fairs. So that's all I have to report. Any questions? Thank you. I appreciate it.
John.
Thank you.
Supervisor Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Health Services met on April the 25th. Out of that, we have 4 resolutions, 249, 250, 251, and 252. 249 is from Office of the Aging, amending Resolution 62 of 2019, which authorized agreements for expanded in-home services. 250 comes from Public Health, It too is amending a resolution that authorizes agreement with interested school districts in Warren County to provide Committee on Preschool Special Education Services. 251 is from Public Health, and it too is amending an agreement to provide committee preschool special ed services to eligible Warren County children. And 252 comes from Public Health, which authorizes the Director of Public Health and Patient Services to execute agreements with various health insurance companies for reimbursement of the services that they provide. And we will meet on Tuesday, and I'd appreciate your support of those 4 resolutions. Thank you.
At this time, I'll close the public hearing on the MS4 report and ask for a motion to approve that report. Okay, a motion by Supervisor Dickinson. Do we have a second by Supervisor Stroud to approve the MS4 report? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, County Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to Supervisor Merlino and Supervisor Leggett for the comments about our new tourism director, Heather Bagshaw. She's hit the ground running. It's going to do a great job for us here. Stay out of her way. 24th of April, attended the board meeting. You heard from Jim Liebram earlier. They do a phenomenal job out there. We just have a great team and really appreciative of all the time we spend with them. 26th of April, visited SPCA of Upstate New York to learn more about their operation, understand the challenges they're facing in light of recent increases in animals housed in their shelters, many that resulted from the COVID crisis where people adopted pets and are now giving them up. They play a big role in animal cruelty cases, both Warren and Washington County, and they also do dog control for Queensbury and Glens Falls. On the 26th of April, we also had a joint Criminal Justice, Public Safety, and Health Services Committee meeting to talk about SPC of Upstate New York operations. We set up a separate working group, and that working group met, and we released a release for proposal because of the challenges we believe we're going to have with animal cruelty cases in the future. And there aren't that many shelters available in the county. So that request for proposal is out. It closes the 25th of March. In view of the speaker's earlier request, I'll talk with Julie Butler about extending it for a week so that we can permit other people to submit a proposal. May 25th. Oh, I'm sorry, May. Yeah, I said March. It's May 25th. It's May 25th, actually. 27th of April, visited with Trish Rogers at the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce, and they do a phenomenal job down there. A lot of these organizations just do great work in this county, and they're great partners with us. So we should be thankful for all the work that all those groups do. 27th of April, attended the Adirondack Regional Winter Lights Experience presentation at the Fort William Henry Hotel. You're going to you'll start to hear more about that, and we'll talk about the amendment to one of the resolutions to add additional funding for this regional winter lights experience. It could really be a game changer for our winter tourism effort in the county. It's pretty impressive. And you have a handout with some slides that show information about that. 27th of April, had a CDTA meeting with Mayor Collins and Carm Basil of CDTA. And that's where we developed the proposal that went forward to the board on the 5th of May. And it was passed unanimously on the 5th of May. And that will be a good thing for this county going forward, particularly for the future. 1st of May, visit our workforce development office in Glen Falls. Again, they just do phenomenal work. They've had job fairs recently at the Salvation Army, Queensbury High School, and Lake George High School. And all of those were extremely successful. For a small team, it's amazing what they do. 1st of May, we held a prep session for the joint Warren Washington meeting about SUNY Adirondack with the Washington County Administrator. And that Supervisor Leggett has mentioned that meeting, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, I believe. 2nd of May, I visited probation, public defender weights and measures, and real property. Again, great work done by our county staff. I'm just so thankful for the great people we have working in this county that do wonderful things for the residents of Warren County. On the 3rd of May, met with the Employee Activities Committee to discuss better use of our profits from our vending machines and things to support employee activities. They're scheduling a bowling event on either the June 14th or June 16th. And we're also talking about bringing food trucks into the municipal center on selected days throughout the summer. Went to the ribbon cutting on the 4th of May for the new field at SUNY Adirondack. That is going to be a game changer for sports at the college, and also we think that'll help draw more sporting events into the county. And I think on the 12th of May, the 11th of May, we had a special board meeting to discuss CDTA, and we joined. So on the 12th of May, we conducted assigned council interviews. We'll be taking a recommendation forward for the personnel committee, upcoming personnel committee, for a decision by the June board meeting. Employee anniversaries. 27 years, Albert Mayday of the Sheriff's Office, who runs our corrections facility. 22 years, Paulette McDonald, she was here earlier with the district attorney. She left at 20 years, Yvette Derbyshire of the district, also the DA's office. And at 20 years, our own Supervisor Frank Thomas. So, Frank, we've heard the speakers. I appreciate the speakers who came in today to talk about the migrant issue that we've started hearing about a lot last week. Employment task force that begins on Monday of Department of Social Services, Public Health, the sheriff, the county attorney, our planning department, and anyone else who might have a role in that. Our expectation is that we would develop a plan and take it through the June, bring it to the June board meeting, unless there's a situation that would occur that we would have to do that sooner. We're at this point, there's no indications that we have any migrants coming from New York City to be placed in Warren County. We haven't heard anything about that. NISAC has a website where they're continuing to keep all the counties informed of the situation. We're watching the situation both in New York City and also on our southern border to stay updated, and we'll keep you informed as we go forward with our task force meetings. Last week was Public Servant Appreciation Week. The chairman and I made a short video expressing our appreciation for all the great work the Warren County employees do on a daily basis. And all I can say is there's not a day that goes by that something doesn't happen in this county by our employees at Warren County. And I just say, wow, it's amazing. They're dedicated. They're hardworking. They do great things for the residents in Warren County, and we should all be thankful for everything they do. With that, I think that's all my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. County Attorney.
Thank you. I do have a report that will require executive session, and I would ask to defer that to the end of the board meeting if that's acceptable to the chair.
Okay. Reading of communications.
Warren County Auditor, Real Property Tax Corrections Report for March and April of 2023. Capital District OTB, November 30th, 2022 Financial Report. Capital District OTB audited financial statements for years ended December 31st, 2022 and 2021. Minutes from Warren County Commissioner of Jurors. Minutes of annual meeting of the Warren County Jury Board dated April 19th, 2023. And letters, emails from Fitzgerald Morris Baker First, notice of public hearing, Yankee Marine LLC project. AC Power LLC, copy of countersigned pilot agreement between Warren County and AC Power 31 LLC.
Reading the resolutions.
Okay. Proposed resolution numbers 234 through 275, as well as 2 proclamations and 8 floor resolutions were distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, May 16th, which met requirements of the rules of the board. The proclamations before you are number 19, Lyme Disease Awareness Month, and number 20, Physical Fitness and Sports Month. There are 8 floor resolutions, and a motion is needed to bring each to the floor.
Okay. If somebody want to make a motion to waive the rules on floor resolution number 1, by Supervisor Frazier, do we have a second? Supervisor Stroud?
You're gonna have one.
Discussion on floor resolution number 1. All those in favor of waiving the rules, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we vote on the.
No, you're all set. You're just bringing it to the floor. A motion is needed for floor resolution to bring floor resolution 2 to the floor, which is
Members, the
amending resolution number 22 of 2023, appointing members from Warren, Washington County's Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation to fill a vacancy due to resignation.
motion on floor resolution number 2. Motion by Supervisor Leggett, second by Supervisor Wild. Discussion.
I'd like to thank the supervisor now from Queensbury for serving on that board. He did a good job.
This is the one appointing Mark Smith and his.
Yes, Mark Smith will take the place of Supervisor Wild. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Floor resolution number 3.
That is, sorry,
This one is appointing Frank E. Thomas to the Lake George.
it's the waive the rules.
Waive the
Waive the
rules,
rules,
excuse me.
yeah.
Motion to waive the rules by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Driscoll. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Then the next one is to appoint Frank Thomas to the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board for resolution 4.
We have to have
I
a-
need a motion. Yep.
Yeah. We have a motion to bring Frank, motion by Supervisor Merlino, second by Supervisor Dickinson. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Okay, there's one to waive the rules regarding the establishing committee structure recognizing Juneteenth as an official paid holiday for the all county employees and authorizing the chairman of the board to execute memorandums of agreements with all county collective bargaining units to include same in listing of paid holidays.
Motion by Supervisor Driscoll to waive rules, second by Supervisor Rossi. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Supervisor Thomas.
And then we need one to bring floor resolution 6 to the floor, which is to about the Juneteenth holiday, recognizing it.
Motion to bring the resolution to make Juneteenth a holiday. Motion by Supervisor Driscoll, second by Supervisor Rossi. Discussion. Supervisor Thomas.
Yes, I'm not necessarily opposed to it being a holiday. I am opposed to paying for the holiday. That's $115,000 to the taxpayers of this county. And another day that nothing will be accomplished.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the holiday signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote right. We have Supervisor Dixon, Supervisor Thomas. Anybody else opposed? Two opposed. Okay. Next,
Floor resolution 7 is to waive the rules in order to entertain a resolution amending the table of organization and salary schedule for 2022 to create a position within the sheriff's office.
motion by Supervisor Prayer, second by Supervisor Drossi to waive the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
And then you need floor resolution is to amend the table for those positions within that sheriff.
the motion to amend the sheriff's department. Motion by Supervisor Smith, We have a second. Second by Supervisor Drassi. Discussion. Supervisor Leggett.
Can we have an explanation of this?
This is the temporary position in the.
Yeah, this is a temporary position in the Sheriff's Department. And then, I mean,
This is a deputy. We have a person in Sheriff's Department that's off on military leave and it's going to be extended military leave. So he wanted to put in a part-time position, I believe. Is that correct, Supervisor Rossi?
that's correct.
And that's what it's for, to put a temporary position in as a deputy. Supervisor Tom.
Well, the resolution neither says part-time nor temporary, so I would suggest that the resolution be amended to include temporary and
Well, I
part-time.
believe that that's what it's for. I'm going to defer to the chairman of the committee.
I can check with the chair quick to make sure, but I believe that's. I thought it was a temporary, yeah. I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe this was for a temporary position. The person is on military leave at the time who holds this position. And they were extended through October. And I believe this is a position to fill. So they won't have a gap until October when the person will probably come off military leave.
So, Mr. Chairman, who's been backfilling this position to date? And why is this not going through the regular committee's structure?
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that.
Supervisor Grassi.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Why don't I'll make a quick call, try to clarify it for everyone.
Okay, we'll bypass that resolution. Supervisor Beatty.
And I'd like an ending date. I mean, I don't, temporary position without an ending date is actually a permanent position in my mind. So if this board doesn't agree, I'd like to have an exact ending date so that it doesn't become another added position without going through the full vetting and the proper process.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Is there funding that needs to go with this? I see something about contingent in the parentheses here. What does that mean? Is that coming out of contingent account? Are they pulling this out of what they have in their budget already?
It's the way it was just explained to us. It's a contingent permanent position to fill in for personnel who will be called up for long-term military leave. Similar to what we did in the corrections division. Is that correct?
Trish Nenninger can speak to it if he wants a better explanation about it.
Do we want the civil service person come up and speak?
I think the contingent, thank you, Sarah, was helpful on that, on describing it, but now the funding is this.
It's in the budget.
It is in the budget,
Yes.
correct? Thank you.
Okay. Do you need further explanation?
So
Supervisor Thomas,
is this another patrol officer position?
it's patrol officer position, yes.
Okay, so it's going to be additional to what's already there.
That's correct. That's the way I believe it.
Yeah,
I wasn't familiar with this at all, so.
I'll get the details. Yeah, I'm trying to get the details too.
Supervisor Well.
Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of curious because I thought we passed a resolution that said it's a position that's already in the budget. That it doesn't need to come to the full board.
Right.
it's creating a new position, though. This person will fill in when a person is called away on an active military duty. And the salary for the person that's away will be used to pay for the position.
So this, if you may, it just sounds like it is a permanent position because this person may come back and another person may go on to military duty and we'll use the same person or same position to temporarily fill that.
Go ahead.
I think we should take this one.
I'm still waiting to get the answers on this. We discussed this at the personnel committee.
I don't remember.
And I wasn't aware, I don't think it was going to be a full-time additional position. It's a position that fills in for a patrol officer who is on military leave right now.
And had been extended and they don't know that the extension is going to go beyond October. But that's what they believed he would be returning at that point.
Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, so without an ending date, it becomes a permanent position. So we either have an ending date for the temporary position, or we're open and say, hey, the sheriff wants to add another position, even though he wants to call it temporary. It's not temporary. It's full-time, permanent temporary. So no, that person, the way I'm hearing it, will fill in for whenever somebody's off on a military commitment. So that's a whole new position. And that will need to go through the full vetting, to be not just an add-on here thrown at the last minute. I would propose that we probably table this motion. I would propose we table this until we actually have all the information. I mean, to me, it sounds like everybody's just grasping at straws. So I'd like to make a motion that we table this right now.
Mr. Chairman, that was my recommendation also. We should just table it till later in the meeting so that we can get a chance to find some more information and we can move on to address other issues.
Was this is vetted at the personnel committee?
I don't recall this.
Okay, so can we have Trish come up and Trish Evinger, our civil service, come up and explain it? I think she has more information on.
No.
Yes.
It needs to go back to the.
Yes.
committee.
Yes.
Okay, you want me to go? call her? Okay,
Well, we think, yes. An email.
or we wait. for those. There's a motion.
I apologize. I
Why don't we wait for the rules?
Mr. Chairman, I seconded his motion to table.
Yeah, there's a motion on the floor to table. I was made.
So I didn't see the second.
I did.
So, I mean, this isn't the time to vet it. The time to vet it is in committee and so
We have a
forth.
motion table.
And so we should table it and have it go back to committee or go to
No
committee.
discussion
first
on
time.
motion to table.
Table until when?
To the next personnel meeting. That's when they should be bringing it. No one's talked about it. No one knows anything. This isn't the time to vet it.
Amanda said, this is just to bring it to the floor and then, table the resolution on the floor. if they want to.
Okay, this is just to bring the resolution forward, and then when we go into voting on resolutions, then we'll make a motion to table this resolution number 7. We have to follow procedure.
Oh, this is just to bring it to even have a vote on it.
Yeah, it's not on the floor to table.
It's not on the floor to
You have to
table.
bring
yet.
it to the floor in order to table
Somebody
it.
want to make a motion to bring this resolution to the floor. Motion by Supervisor Wild. Do we have a second?
We have Smith and Gratchi. They made the motion.
Oh, we have Smith and Grass.
Yep.
Okay. Proceed. All those in favor of bringing the resolution to the floor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oh,
Opposed.
Do we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Okay, this is to bring floor. Oh, Trish is here. I don't-
but that's okay.
Okay.
Let's vote. They want to.
Okay, this is to table, or to bring floor resolution 8 to the floor. Supervisor Smith,
Yeah.
Supervisor Dickinson,
Yes.
Supervisor Merlino,
Yes.
Supervisor Stroud,
We're gonna learn more information about this shortly, aren't we?
yes, Trish is here to speak to it.
I have the information as well,
We
Mr.
need to
Chairman.
answer the floor.
wait?
Well, let's vote on to bring it.
Just bring it to the floor.
Yes or no? You want information first before we finish the vote?
No, thank you.
Supervisor Wild.
Yes.
Supervisor McGowan,
No.
Supervisor Beatty,
No.
Supervisor Steck,
No.
Supervisor Thomas,
No.
Supervisor Conover,
Yes.
Supervisor Leggett. Oh, I'm sorry. Supervisor
Look what
Rodman.
happens. No.
So you were yes or no, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Supervisor Conover,
Yes, I'd like to hear more.
Supervisor Leggett,
No.
Supervisor Diamond,
No.
Supervisor McDevitt.
Yes.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
The motion to bring to the floor passes with a 541 in favor, 371 against, and 90 absent.
Okay, I'll ask Trish, would you like to address the board on the?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically,
Sheriff Barr says there's no additional cost to the budget. They have two positions in corrections, and this is a position that will be contingent on a vacancy. They have a patrol officer who is leaving and going to the New York State Police, and as a result, they need this position. That's why it's come forward as a floor resolution. So they can get a new hire into a June 19th academy class to replace this vacant position, but there's zero cost to the budget and it's not creating an additional position. I'll ask Trish to.
I think as I understand it, for this particular circumstance, the reason that it's coming on short notice is that there is a June 19th academy starting. The academy for the patrol officers only starts twice a year. And they have one of their employees is resigning. They're anticipating to go to another agency, but it won't overlap. So they won't have a vacancy to appoint and send to for a week. So this, on a contingent basis, gives them that flexibility to meet the timeframes of the academy appointments and without, as I understand it, affecting the budget in any way. And that would be Sheriff LaFar's question. But we have done it with corrections. And the reason we do it is sometimes there are vacancies existing from the corrections point of view because they cannot fill a position because somebody's on long-term military leave. So the salary is sitting there because they're not being paid on a weekly basis. But there is not a position number in our budget to hire someone into. So this is giving them that flexibility.
Do we have an active patrol officer list?
Yes, they're working through it right now. And my understanding is they have a candidate that they're interested in appointing or going through the process of appointing. And they won't have a vacant position to put them in on June 19th for the academy. The vacancy won't occur till June 25th, 26th, something like that, where the officer is moving to another agency for another academy, I believe is the
State police.
State police.
I am not sure, but that's what I've heard.
Supervisor McGowan.
Just thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, I'm just trying to get a gist of this because I hear it's for military leave, but it's because we're people, someone is leaving the agency to go to another agency, but we have people on military leave, so we don't have enough coverage. So we're trying to do this to get someone into the academy in time so we can cover. All right, so is it for military leave or not for military leave?
Right. I can, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that was my confusion. I'm sorry about that. There are two in corrections who are on contingent positions at no cost to the budget because we have two people in corrections who are on military leave. So we're creating this position similar to the positions we have in corrections. It's basically, we're just hiring an individual so they can get into the 19th June class before the other officer leaves on the 25th of June. So this contingent position will just cover until that time that position is vacant. And then this person goes on that position.
Hold on.
I have a follow-up on that.
Well, let me get Supervisor Wild. Had his hand up.
Mr. Chairman, Trish, just for my clarity, this, the title is Patrol Officer number 1-6. Is this -C indicative that it's a contingent and it's only allowable if there's vacancies that they're trying to fill? Is that what that means?
So I believe that the purpose of that particular designation is exactly that. So we have somewhere on a temporary basis to put an officer, whether corrections, which you've approved. In this case, it's a very short term position to put a patrol officer in so they can start the academy. The C represents it's not getting a permanent number. It's just holding a contingent position. The reason we're using the word contingent is technical. They're being appointed subject to that position opening up. So if that position doesn't open up, then they would be the officer that would not have a position.
Mr. Chairman, with us being on the brink of our summer season and the need for patrol officers, I think this is a must do.
Supervisor Beatty, you had your.
Yeah, so this is about as clear as mud. So I would propose that we have an ending date of June 25th, because basically we're creating a temporary position so the guy can get in, or woman can get in the training, state police training, or the training. So why don't we have an ending date for this position? Because once he's in or she's in, we don't need it anymore. How does that sound?
I was going to let the undersheriff.
So there's a question on the temporary fill of this position, is that? So we have a gentleman that's leaving, a patrol officer that's leaving for the New York State Police on the 25th of June. Our academy, the Municipal Police Academy, starts on the 16th of June. So we have a space there. In order to fill with that officer who's leaving, we need to send him to the academy. We'd like to get him into the academy and pay him in a temporary spot, so to speak, or a contingent permanent spot until the other officer who's leaving for the state police is off the books. And then he just fills that second officer just fills that spot. Once that opens and the trooper is off the books, or the officer is off the books and gone to the state police. So it's just a covering, so to speak, or it's a I see it. We're just getting this gentleman in, and he is, or whoever we hire, female or male, we're getting him into the academy, and we're able to hire him, and we don't have to wait.
Ben had his hand up.
Yeah,
now.
I guess a number of us want to know if you have that under sheriff, an approximate date when that other individual would be off the books.
The 25th.
The 25th.
24th or 25th in there, somewhere in that spot. It's about a 4 or 5 day coverage.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gap. There's a gap in between.
Supervisor McGowan, you had it.
Yeah, thank you. So, Under Sheriff, thank you for coming up, and Trish, thank you for coming up. It's a confusing. So basically, from what it sounds like, it's a temporary position to keep the motion flowing, so we don't have a gap, a longer gap coverage, because we're already shorthanded coming into our busy season.
It's an idea of hiring this a patrol officer. And he is taking he or she is taking this position. And we're able to pay him, get him on the books using a position we already have that is now vacant because of a military spot. So it doesn't affect our salary schedules. It doesn't affect anything in that for about 4 days. And then once the gentleman who's hired by the state police is off the books, that officer who we've hired falls into that spot. So we don't create another position. We need that contingent position, or that time. So we're able to hire this officer as a full-time officer.
So in common sense for myself and maybe other people that are listening, it's really just keeping the motion going.
Yes, sir.
In the direction where, there's a small area where we're gonna have 2, and then one drops off and the other one's just gonna be able to continue out through.
Yes,
And
sir.
we won't have a gap in coverage, and we're all still be protected.
That was your original question that I did not answer. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
So real simple. Let's just put an ending date on this temporary position of June 25th. The other guy will be gone. this position from them go away, he'll step into that position. It's as simple as that.
Supervisor Thomas.
Yeah, after hearing that explanation, I would almost think that this should become part of their structure as a contingent position, so that if this need arises in the future, we don't have this situation, and but that it could only be funded from within the budget from a vacant position.
Do you need a second on that motion?
Well. that was a discussion, so. Where are we now?
Makes sense.
Supervisor Leggett.
Mr. Chairman, I think this points out the need that the department comes up with a floor resolution, a special thing that has to come out of committee, that there is representation that has a knowledge of this to be able to answer everybody.
Absolutely. Okay, where are we now?
The resolutions on the floor, the floor resolutions are all on the floor, so they are now 276 through 283. And
So it's on the floor.
yeah, so
So
you're-
we can move on.
Yep.
Okay. Request for Supervisor Dixon.
Is this an appropriate time to review 257? 357, 257.
I believe so.
I should have brought my glasses.
What number?
257. Occupancy tax coordination.
What's your request?
I want to add on an application made by the town to the county for 50,000. You all.
Oh, you want to amend 257 to add another request on
Yes,
for 50,000
yes,
for
the town.
the town of Lake George?
Yeah,
So you making that a motion to amend it?
yes.
And we have a second by Supervisor Stroud. Any discussion on amending a resolution 257? Adding on $50,000. Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. My only question is, this is something that also should go through committee. I have no idea what we're voting for another $50,000 rock tax. So,
You have it?
yeah. Pardon me? Yeah, I do have this. I do have that explanation. It's $50,000 for a consulting firm or some type of firm to come in to understand whether they can do this light show or whatever it is. There hasn't been a discussion about it. I would prefer that we have a discussion about it unless we absolutely have to have a decision today.
There is a time factor involved. Trying to get it done for this summer, and if we don't get onto it, we won't make it.
My understanding was supposed to happen over the winter, from what I read. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me, but
No, they.
Supervisor Rollino, want to try to shed some light on this?
Can I ask Penny Catsito, get
Yes,
up and
without
explain it to us?
Sure.
And he's leading this charge on this.
I don't know about that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vinnie Crocito, Town Councilman, Supervisor Dickinson's Deputy Supervisor and business owner up in Lake George. Today, though, I'm representing the committee for the winter experience format. So many of you have heard about this. We've had 2 presentations already so far. You should have a handout. This is we've vetted 2 companies for this really spectacular winter holiday light display up in Lake George. It will not be competition to the ice castles. In fact, it will work with them. They're well aware of what we're doing and it will help retain them also. It's not weather dependent. It will start in November and end in April and has the capability to run year round. It's a ticketed event. And if you look at it, you'll see it's pretty spectacular and we can come in with a presentation on it also. We are under a time constraint. They want it. Moment Factory is the company that we decided to go with. They want to get going on it. To have a chance at doing this in December, we need to move on this very, very quickly. So that's an overview of it. We're looking for 50,000 now to go through phase 1. What phase 1 will do for us is create a creative theme, a site evaluation, technical evaluation, and an outline for 2 to 5 years. This does have
the ability to spread to all the communities outside of Lake George. Also, we could set something up in all of them. If you look at the success of the ice castles, which year one, I believe, sold 90,000 tickets. Year two dropped down because of the weather. In a shorter period of time, if we base this on 75,000 tickets at a $29 price tag, it would bring in $2.1 million. Of course, expenses subtracted from that, but it has the potential to really have an impact on our whole region. And it's pretty spectacular. So today we're looking for the 50,000 to move forward with phase one. Yes.
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. As I read it, I can't find it on my desk. Maybe I gave it away. But the $50,000 is for a study. Sorry. Before moving forward with this, it's $2 to $3 million. Where's that $2 to $3 million coming from?
Good question.
To execute this?
A good question. So there's a few ways to raise the funding. Occupancy tax is where it needs to come from. You know, the town and the village and the county, we don't want the taxpayer to be liable for this in any way. There's a few different ways to get it, of course. Borrow it, pay it back with contribution from the county, town and village. Anything short would come from ticket sales. There's a surplus at the county level, OC tax. This is a great use for OC tax. I know that there's a surplus. County can lend it. We can pay it back also. They could give a portion of it to bring the debt service down. But to answer your question, borrowing it and a contribution from town, village and county and ticket sales.
Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming up and explaining this in greater detail. Because I have some other resolutions that I want to talk about of the OCTAX money that has expended out, but I did see a report that our OCTAX money is down this year, and if Mike is here, he's behind me. And also sales tax is down.
This will get it up.
No, I'm just saying is that what concerns me is some of the money that we have spent out of OCTAX this year alone. We just gave, SUNY Adirondack a hunk of money for the artificial turf. We kind of use this as a slush fund and then we get hit up at the end of the year with some extra funds because we have this buildup, and I'm afraid it was a couple of years ago, our treasurer said that we need to put the brakes on, otherwise we're going to run out of money. And we've had some good years. We got a good hunk in there, but we really don't know what's coming up in the future either. So we want to keep that buffer in there for a certain reason. So I'm just concerned that this large amount of money going out at the last minute. I just wanted to bring that up.
Understood.
Supervisor.
Vinny, can I ask why this is coming from what's the deadline? Why is this such a rush that it can't go through the committee and the board next month's board meeting?
They want to come up for us to have a shot at it and to design this with all the design work that needs to be put into it. They need to start on it by the end of May for this year, for this coming year. Every month we pushes it into the winter. This 50,000 just gets them here they've been here twice already, and we've had numerous team meetings with them. This just gets it going to the point of design and putting it all together and a 2 to 5 year outlook on it.
Thank you.
It doesn't commit us to the final project. It commits us to the next step, which has to be done.
Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Then you do have a stellar board working on this project. So there are some great minds behind it. It was brought up before. It is a good idea. We do not have a strategy for all of the money that we have in occupancy tax, and this has always been a problem. And just to dig into it here or there does not benefit the county altogether. We have recreation studies coming. We have comprehensive plans coming. We have other things to be able to integrate this into a whole rational way of utilizing the $7 million we have in occupancy tax
needs to be done. And this is all, I'm going to call it shooting from the hip, and don't take that. I know there's a lot of thought that's been behind it.
There is.
But it just shows up on our table here today to make a decision for $50,000 spend. And in order to implement it will be another $2 to $3 million spend. So in some ways we are committing. I know that if we are to go for infrastructure funding for a water project, CBDG or EFC will want us to have all of the financing in place before we start on a project. And here we're just given the first 50,000, which could be easy enough to be done. But the rest of it needs big consideration. What if we put it in to the whole bucket, look at the strategy for the whole county for the occupancy tax and go, no, this really doesn't fit. Better uses, some of the better uses could be on infrastructure throughout the county to attract and sustain over year in, year out visitor experiences. So if I'm reading this right, that it doesn't seem like 1 month is going to make much difference, bring it through the occupancy tax committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Leggett. I just wanted to, it was part of my report, but I was pulling up the date again, but we did have a joint meeting of the occupancy tax and the tourism committees, where we heard the proposal. There were two proposals brought forward, one from this Moment Factory in Canada, and another one,
Our agency.
agency from Florida. And they both did presentations and proposals. And then we asked the committee to go back and decide which one they'd like to support. And they came back and said it was Moment Factory. And it is, these are professional organizations. They have unbelievable videos out there on YouTube that of the things they've done, such as light up like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris and all kinds of things like that around the world. It's kind of a game changer proposal for winter, something that they believe would attract tourism from all over the area just to see this. And it's not a single year event. It's something that would come back year after year. It's a interactive light show that's just, I said, pretty impressive. So it did go before the committee though for discussion, and it's the deadline of the 25th of May to make a decision to get Moment Factory to write a proposal is what they're asking for right now. But I believe it was passed for the committee. I looked at the committee chair, but I believe it was passed through that committee to go forward.
It's sort of my understanding that we are committing $50,000 to the town of Lake George. That's all we're committing. The town of Lake George will take the money and move it towards this project. Is that correct, Dennis?
That's correct.
We're not committing to the long term. We're committing $50,000 to the town of Lake George like we would. Or if it was some, one of the communities coming in for occupancy tax money for food trucks or one of those things, we're committing just to the town of Lake George. Supervisor, what?
Mr. Chairman, I'm a member of OCTAX and tourism committees. I don't remember seeing any notification about a committee meeting or a joint committee meeting for this. My issue, again, as I mentioned, it's a last minute thing. And I'm big on doing something large with our reserve of occupancy tax, like the supervisor from Chester mentioned. I'd like to delay this. I would like to table this for a month. Get us a chance to really dig in deep. If we need to, maybe we put in $20,000 and let the Lake George put in their $30,000 and help make this happen. But I'm not prepared to say that it's appropriate to do this at the last minute and say $50,000 out of OCTAX. Yeah, we have a lot of money there. And we should be strategic in terms of how we use this. I'm not saying it's a bad proposal or anything like that. I just haven't been enlightened and had that opportunity to ask a bunch of questions about what we're doing with our money and where we're going with OCTAX in general. Thank you.
Supervisor Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I love the idea.
Thank you.
And
Good idea.
I'm particularly like item 3, transform public spaces throughout Warren County.
Absolutely.
I think that is a terrific idea, terrific goal for this initiative. And I think that whether this gets approved today or not, I think that it's important to understand that I think this really keys in on a learning experience that we've had in Lake George and Bolton and perhaps elsewhere that used to be very dependent on the lake freezing, which of course it doesn't always freeze. And then we have these carnivals that have a very difficult time. Well, what we learned with the ice bar in Bolton, with cars strung down the road, now we have many businesses that do that activity because it brings people here. And what we learned with the ice castles is that there are seasonal activities in the winter that we can do that where we make a terrific destination for people, and it allows our businesses to stay operational in a much more difficult time of the year, and employ the people that they do employ. And so I'm very excited by this, and I just want you to know, Mr. Pacito, that Bolton would be very interested in talking to Lake George and the business community in Lake George about this.
Yep.
And how we might be able to participate in this and how we might be able to support this later on, because it would seem to me part of what they're going to do is put the business plan together, which is going to include, well, what are we going to come up with this kind of money? Well, that's going to take some work. That's going to take somebody moving around and talking to the business community and projecting on, sales and other kinds of things. So it's very involved. But if this was half as successful as some of the other wintertime activities that we have going on, this would be a great addition to our program. So it will have my support here today or a month from today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor.
Yes, thank you. Ice Castles has been a wonderful event and it's brought people from who have stayed in Warrensburg to Glens Falls, Queensbury. It's unfortunately weather dependent and weather hasn't been all that good for ice castles, and I hope that this winter is more productive. This is not, and it looks to be of equal majesty to ice castles in what it could do for the area. This looks big, this looks beautiful. I think to give 50,000 to the town of Lake George to secure this and get this going seems to be an important thing to do and to do now. Thank you.
Supervisor Tom.
Yes, the town of Lake George has requested $50,000 in occupancy tax money. I believe the town of Lake George and the people that are on the sheet here that are involved in this project know what they're doing. I think Lake George generates a considerable amount of the occupancy tax money, and I definitely support it. I'm not here to the second guess these folks about this type of project.
Yeah, I think Supervisor Brady.
The supervisor from Bull Landing was very generous in wanting to partner up with Lake George. I would fully support them doing that to provide the $50,000 seed money of their tens of thousands in tax money currently. Then going forward, if it's viable and there's a well thought out business plan, how to fund and finance $2.2 to $3 million, then the county should be involved. But I think at this stage, I'd fully support Bolton Landing and Lake George funding that 50,000 through their tax money, which is more than enough to do that. And then let's see where it goes from a county's perspective after that, whether the business plan makes sense that they can fund it 2 to 3 million.
What I know is that the occupancy tax money in Lake George has been committed already for this year. That's why they're requesting a municipal ask of $50,000 from our reserve to go to the town of Lake George for them to forward this money on for this thing. Supervisor West, that's the way I understand it. Am I correct, Dennis?
Yes.
Okay, Supervisor West.
Mr. Chairman, my biggest concern, I mentioned it's the $2 to $3 million. Are we committing $2 to $3 million out of our tax as a county? Are we committing to float a bond for $2 to $3 million to make this happen if it works? Right? So 50 grand is good. We're investing in an opportunity. I'm all for it. But where does this $2 to $3 million come from? And if we don't have any ideas in terms of where we're going to get that money from, then why would we go with something that's going to be that big of an ask in the future?
We have ideas where it's coming. Can I talk or not yet?
It's great. You guys do a great job. I'm not trying to condemn anything that you guys are doing in the idea. I just want to make sure the board understands, are we prepared to do this if this idea holds true, which I think all of us hope it does? $3 million out of our tax, $3 million we're going to float a bond, or is the business community going to help us do this? We probably should set that expectation now.
Let me throw a couple numbers around. We have a good business plan. We have a very good level of detail here based on the ice castles, based on the rooms that were rented before, based on the star reports that the county received. Besides the impact that this will have, let's just focus on the money. And then the phase one will give us another level of detail that we all want and need to go forward. So we really push it on that today. But let's just, you want to talk about the money? How do we raise $2 to $3 million? When we can borrow it, number one, as just a town can. And what we would look for at that point is support yearly from the county. Maybe, I don't know, I don't want to throw out numbers because they're going to go on the record and they might change, but the county 200,000, the town 200,000, the village 100,000. And then if there's anything extra comes from the ticket sales. If the town is the owner of this, the profit will stay with the town. Is the county ready for that number? That's what the bed tax is there for. I mean, we collect it in the purest sense of the occupancy tax, as everyone says, puts heads in beds. This puts heads in beds. This creates jobs. It creates year-round jobs. It's a game changer for the county and the area around it. There's no question about that. Not to mention we raise sales tax and more occupancy tax. But that's the initial proposal of where that money will come from, which is very doable. Lake George has borrowed that amount, before, but we are asking the county for support on that, and the county would hold the biggest stick, to borrow that kind of money. The county could borrow it, and the county could keep all the profits if they want, and we could just pay the county. But those are some of the ideas of where the money would come from. John, do you have any thoughts on it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ice castles. We gave them $50,000. We committed to, I think, 3 or 4 years of tax money. We don't give them any more money. Ice castles is a self-sustaining and profitable business that is a huge addition to the North Country. I think we can all agree with that. Nothing against you, Penny. I think you're a sharp guy, and but basically what you're saying is and maybe I'm wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, please. But you're saying, well, 100,000 from this town and 100,000 from this town and a couple 100,000 from the county and so forth and so on. So that's the difference between this and ice castles. Ice castles, we give them 50K and they run and they do their thing. This is $2 to $3 million commitment, which is, to me, a whole different level.
Are you committed to the Civic Center to give them $250,000 a year?
We do that. Now, that's a separate entity too. Yes, we do that. And I've been a big supporter of that because that's a regional type of thing.
So is this.
But there's a big difference between 3 million and 250,000 a year. So right now, I'd love to have you go through the OCTAX and the tourism committee, lay it out, let all those people see in detail more where the funding is going to come from, because I'm not comfortable committing Warren County to 2 or 3 million
at this stage, at this point. Maybe down the road I will, but at this point, really, I can't.
Okay, thank you for that. The county's not committing to 2 or 3 million. What happens if Lake George and the village asks you for 250,000 every year, like you do for the civic center? And that's it. All the county does is write a check to us for 250,000 a year. Because that could work also, and it's the same format. Yeah, we're negotiating money here, but this can be done. We need that 50,000 to get that next level of detail. And I mean,
I think we need to step back though, and really focus on what the ask was. It's $50,000 to the town of Lake George. Where it goes from there, if they come back to committee, they'll have to come back to committee with their business plan. That's the way I look at it.
we got good.
And I think thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the issue with asking for the money now is, as you do a backward plan, if this proposal, after they do the study with the $50,000 or whatever it's going to cost to do the study, comes back and it just knocks us, over because it's such a great proposal and it looks like it's going to be significant success. If we wait until June, they may not have time to pull it off by this winter. So I think that was the time frame. They said if you don't commit by, I think, the end of May, there's no ability to have them be able to prepare anything and get it available for. So we're not really committing, I don't think, to the 2 to 3 million or any amount of money right now, except for the $50,000 for the town of Lake George.
Mr. Gowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Mike Swan in here, our treasurer, and I would love to hear how we are doing the latest report, and maybe he's always been pretty good at the projections of the future, and I respect his opinion. If that would be a pleasure of the board here to have him speak on how the money situation is and what he perceives in the future. The other thing that I would ask is, if possible, a lot of money at the last minute, and like I said, would the town and the village be able to scrape or some of the business owners, because it really is a good proposal. And I do like it. It is a gamble for 50,000 if it's going to work. It's a lot of money. So, could they put some skin in it with the county? So, but if we could hear from our treasurer, how the architect one is going. I mean, we hear about this, money, but we also dip into it pretty good when we've been hitting it lately. So,
Mike, would you like to address what the balance was?
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Good afternoon. Right now, as I checked this morning, collections for occupancy tax are down about 8% from 2022, about even with 2021, because 2022 was a boom year. Our unencumbered reserve in the fund balance is about $5 million, give or take. So that's kind of where the numbers are. My thought process is sales tax is down, occupancy tax is down so far this year. This may be a back to more reality year. 2022 was just a boom. All right. So I think we're kind of sliding back in. That's my projection, that we're sliding back into maybe instead of a $7 million collection, maybe around 6.2 collection. Okay. There was, and I just want to throw out one more thing. Somebody said something about borrowing money and so forth. The occupancy tax cannot loan money to anybody. That's set up in the law, the way it was set up, and it can't be used for debt service. So in other words, if the town went and borrowed money, we can't give the town occupancy tax money to pay that debt service. Okay, just an FYI, I think.
Follow up with the treasurer. Do you have a rough idea of what we spent this year on our tax through the county?
No, I don't have that off the top of my head.
And
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
trying to put you on the spot, but
Well, you did, but I don't have.
let's go like
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize to the public. This is the kind of stuff that gets done in a committee where we talk about all these issues, but unfortunately, last minute, here we are. And I'm in favor of the $50,000. One more question though, probably for Vinny or from anyone else who's involved. Is this $2 to $3 million per year because it changes every year? Or is it $2 to $3 million and then we're good and then there's other fees to expand this for?
Yeah, it's one,
They need to answer that.
oh, yeah. Yeah, it's one time fee. And the projections are profitability after that. One time, yeah.
So as we expand in different areas of the county, we can just take this, I don't even know what it is, whether it's, wings or whatever, but
Yeah.
we can take it to different
Right,
sections of the county.
yeah, the proposed profit from sales would go to other areas and expand it any way you want. Any way we want.
Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you.
Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, just briefly, I mean, for those that may not be aware that Lake George provides well over half the occupancy tax dollars that we do receive. The other two major players in this are Bolton and Queensberry. That doesn't mean there aren't other communities that also contribute, but in terms of the lion's share of the revenue. When I hear some of the comments today, it reminds me of the story of the little red hen and Vinny. You know, who's going to help me plant the wheat and not I.
Right.
You know, who's going to help me harvest the wheat? Well, not I. Or who's going to help me bake the bread? Well, not I. But once the bread is baked, it's like, well, when do we eat? And that's the nature of things.
Yeah.
At least to this point, largely in Bolton and Lake George.
Yeah.
We support and are glad to support the allocation of large sums of resources to other communities. It's a regional program, and why shouldn't we? But the engines that we represent need to have support as well. And I think the idea of an allocation like this so that they can move forward to develop a plan, to develop an idea that could have significant countywide benefit, I think is admirable. And it has, once again, it has my absolute complete support.
We have not voted on the amendment to 257. The amendment to 257 is to make an award to the town of Lake George an amount of $57,000.
Added to the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
We already
We have the motion.
Need a second?
We'll do it. We have a second. Let's do a roll call vote. That way, everybody. Okay,
So we're,
this to amend 257. Right?
Yep.
Just amend.
To amend to include the 50,000 for the town of Lake George.
Yes.
Okay, Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Merlino,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yeah.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
yes,
Beatty,
This commits us to 50,000 to Lake George.
Mhm.
I'll agree with the seed money. That's about all at this stage.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon,
yes.
Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Gerasi,
Yes.
and Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, so let's get back to resolutions. Resolutions.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other roll call vote, request for roll call or discussion on resolutions? Okay, resolution number.
No, just a discussion. We didn't hear anything on three resolutions coming out of county facilities and two coming out of environmental concerns and real property. I don't know if there was anything that members of those committees would like to add or something that we should look for before?
You have a question on a resolution?
I don't, but we didn't, we didn't hear from those two committees. So if there's anyone that wants to, from those committees that wants to kind of.
Anybody can
update us
ask a question on a resolution right now. Does anybody have a question?
On those or
No?
on any resolution?
And we're still talking a resolution. Nobody has a question about.
No.
I have a question on a resolution.
Supervisor Smith had his hand up first.
On floor resolutions 1 and 2, I think I need to step out. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, 276 and 277. Those now have to be rolled. Because he's gonna. do they-
And as the clerk is looking, that would be an abstention from voting, which is the proper position to take when you have a conflict of interest.
Supervisor McGowan, you had a question on
Need to roll that.
which number?
Yes, to bring up the economic, not the economic growth, but
Resolution number?
environmental concerns. Does anybody have any questions there? Because I do sit on that, and I believe I should, and I guess I should have. Claudia did text me that she wasn't gonna be here, but I didn't think to stand up and speak for that one too, so sometimes I forget what I did yesterday, so.
We have a resolution number.
But that would be for
47.
27, 247 and 248.
And Mr. Chairman,
Administrator.
Supervisor Stroud has already talked.
Oh, yeah, what
48.
Okay, right, yeah.
All right, well, on 248, I have a question on that resolution. Is Supervisor Stroud brought up the fact that this is grandfathered in the condos for those who are in them now, but does that grandfather change when that unit is sold?
The legal answer is no.
That means that if it's sold, it still stays at that lower amount. This is only for new construction only.
That's correct.
Yes, that's new.
So how fair does that sound? I mean, we're making a lot to change it. And we got condos that are going for $1 million more than what they're being assessed for. So it's like, but yet, my home, for X amount, and I can turn around and buy it for, $1 million. I gotta pay that $600,000 more because I'm not grandfathered in. Does that sound fair? I'm just bringing it up. I don't think it sounds fair on that fact.
All right, Supervisor Stroud?
It would apply to new condominium development. New. That means that sometimes developers go the condominium route because they're gonna get tax breaks on the condominium, be able to sell them with the tax breaks. And all those tax breaks end up costing the rest of us more money. Some of those condominiums get sold for 2 million, they're assessed at 500,000, not fair. But that goes forward with new condominiums.
So not existing condominiums that are selling for now, like now if a condominium sells, it's assessed for 250,000, it sells for $1 million now. Do the towns go for the sale value now, or?
It's pre-existing. This wouldn't apply.
Okay,
Right.
I don't, this is a typical legislation that doesn't completely make sense to me, so. And I'm not allowed to say on the mic when I usually say in this particular
Thank you.
time.
Thank you. Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, roll call vote on 275.
Thank you. Anybody else? Supervisor McGowan?
Yes, I have a combination. I'd like a roll call on 259, 272, and we have one on 275 now.
Hold on. So we get.
What's the first one? 72 is already.
259.
We already have it on 272.
259.
No.
Okay.
Okay, 272.
Be there.
Okay, so I'm combining these three together because of my concerns. Now, the two biggest things that I pay for in Queensbury are my taxes, my county taxes and my school taxes. Okay, and I'm not against the monies that we put out in our education. Fortunately, I didn't complete the full college routine. I decided to go into work for myself and have been that way for over 42 years. But I'm not against the education, but the cost of education is really getting way out of hand and with these demands. So I'm looking at resolution 259 is that the tourism is awarded SUNY Adirondack 500,000. Am I correct there? Okay, and then 272.
Monthly expense, yearly expense on a
To authorizing agreement with the SUNY Adirondack for architect funding. So we're giving architect funding of 500,000. For the construction and installation of that's 500,000 for the next. We're giving a total of 500,000 to go up as $100,000 a year for the next 5 years. All right, so there's $500,000 that we're awarding today. 272, there's 100,000 that the tourism award that we're giving. All right, and then I'm seeing here with the increase that we're going to be paying out over the next 5 years. It's another 923,756.47 increase. So over the next 5 years, all right, the taxpayers are going to be picking up another $1,765.47. I'm not sure if everybody was aware of all these, but when you put them all together, that's a lot of money. And on top of that, I see that the Queensbury school budget just this past, all right, of course, again, with more money. So I'm trying to knock education, but the expense of it is getting out of hand and everybody believes it. So I'm just trying to make it I have an issue with this. That, this is a lot of taxpayers' money, even though the money's coming out of our taxes, still comes out of other things that we can do to benefit our county. So I will be voting no on 259, 272, and 275.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment?
Yeah.
Supervisor Dickinson.
It's not coming out of taxpayers' money. It's coming out of our tax. Period, the end. And we collect that our tax and distribute that our tax so everybody can spend it. The ideal situation is you take in X dollars in our tax, you spend X dollars in our tax. Trying to bring more tourists in here for more our tax. End of conversation. I don't know why you're so worried about spending money.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would like to clarify that.
real quick, please.
That's 600,000 that's coming out of the OC tax. The $923,756.47 will be coming out of the taxpayers because that's what the increase of Washington County and Warren County's tax dollars are going to. So let's not fluff it here.
Supervisor Light.
Thank you, Mr.
Discussion on
Chairman.
the resolution.
Yes, on 259 and 272. Just to clarify that on the 259, it is for that full appropriation over time, $100,000 a year. 272 is the actual moving of the funds, mending the budget for that 100,000. So it's not another 100,000 on top of 500,000. It's making the money available to be able to pay for that. I did have the opportunity to be at the ribbon cutting for the sports field. I was a little apprehensive when occupancy tax, the committee did give this much money to
SUNY Adirondack. But while there and hearing from the Lake George Regional CVB as well as Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce and expressing how a field and facility like this will help with our sports tourism. It will be used for more than just for the college purposes. You know, it is a big player for the college to attract students and to put the college on the map as an active place and place where students want to come. Keeping up student enrollment is very important, and sports programs are one of those ways of doing it. But it is expected to have that derivative of sports tourism coming in on it, as we've supported the dome, for example. We've supported, I call it Fields of Dreams, over the Golden Goal over in Fort Anne for that. So in those lines, this $100,000 a year for 5 years going to SUNY Adirondack is not just to offset the use by SUNY Adirondack students, but for our greater strategy of a sports, recreation, attraction, visitor economy.
Supervisor Smith. go ahead.
Just a question on resolution 271 as written in the package. In the text, it says $116,000. In parentheses, it says 16,000. Which?
Oh, yeah.
Resolution 271, sir.
What's correction?
You have corrected that, so tell me. Which? That one 71.
271, thank you, Mr. Chairman, is a request that's just moving the money to fund the two events there. One is the historical society's budget at 4,000.
It is, the way the number is written is incorrect. It should say 16,000, not 116,000.
Thank you.
And we can make a,
Correction.
we can make a clerk's correction on that.
16,000, yeah, all right.
Thank you for noting that.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. Is there any way on 248 we can amend that? We could amend that request of the governor that she supports legislation about the towns and the county, the option to access all newly constructed condominiums. And then I'd like to put in an amendment as well as the transfer of deed for existing condominiums. Can we legally add that amendment into that?
Since the supervisor is looking at me, can you say the last part? I didn't understand the last part of the request.
So right now it's for new construction, okay, condominiums. I'd like to amend that resolution 248 to with the language of which would include the transfer of deed of currently grandfathered condominiums. So that way, as my colleague from supervisor, who's always on top of things, Mr. McGowan, I know he'd like to have that. I'm going to be the mouthpiece and say, I'd like to have that amendment put onto that resolution so that it does cover exactly the situations that happen where a condo is, $1 million sold for $1 million, yet it's only taxed at 400,000 because it was grandfathered in.
What I can say from a legal perspective is, one, I have not had an opportunity to look at that issue. Two, that is not what the legislature, the New York State Legislature proposed in its last session that was vetoed by Governor Hochul. And it's my understanding that the proposal that the state legislature is working on is the same as the one that was vetoed, which did not include a retroactive look. And then even though I was taught in law school not to practice law off the top of my head, I would spot a constitutional issue with trying to make it retroactive to existing condominiums. And that potentially that could be some form of an illegal taking. So the goal of what the state, and that's again off the top of my head, but the goal of the state process and my understanding of what was sought through this resolution, which only supports It's not it is not a home rule request. It only supports the efforts to modify state law. Is for new construction after the effective date of state legislation that modifies that calculation method. So yeah, I'm not even, I was about to say that there could be a motion to amend. But from a legal perspective, I think what the amendment seeks may not be legal, but again, it would be something we would need to look at in more detail.
I'd like to make the motion to amend it and put a little pressure maybe on, or give it a little more teeth to this, because basically we're asking the governor to look at this and to support it, but it's missing all its teeth other than new construction. So I would make a motion that we amend it. And from a legality standpoint, obviously you're not sure one way or the other, so let's go forward. For some reason, we got to take out the verbiage, so be it, but I don't see it happening.
Second it,
We have a motion.
if there's a motion.
Second discussion
On the discussion.
go ahead.
Yeah, on the discussion, amending this is not the wise thing to do. The momentum across the state is for this legislation as written. Last night, our town board passed a resolution. If I'm not mistaken, there were others, Bolton, and others. Okay, there are many others that have passed this identical legislation. That's where the momentum is. A change at this point, I think, will really interfere with what the intent of this is.
Yeah, I think the way it was explained to this, we're just voting on a bill that is in front of should be in front of the governor to sign. Is that correct? No. Go ahead.
Yeah, the bill that was in front of the governor that the governor vetoed was vetoed. And it provided for, but it did provide for one town the opportunity to exempt itself. And so our assessors, our town assessors, and the towns are the ones that do the assessment, not the county. That's important to keep that in mind. So if the towns are passing concurrent resolutions, we feel that perhaps the opportunity is now to reintroduce that resolution that the governor vetoed, because it did pass the assembly and did pass the Senate, either this session or next, to get that back in front of the governor with, let's say, much broader support from the municipalities. And so while I understand your concern, and there are those that, you know, I'm sure would love for something like that at some point in time. I'm not sure when that point in time is, but what we definitely need to do is lock the door before any more horses get out of the barn. Putting the horses back in the barn, as the counselors pointed out, that's going to take some homework. That's going to take some research. That's going to take, we're going to have to look at that from a legal perspective. And I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but so the idea here is that we would like to see municipalities that choose to exempt themselves, the authority to be able to exempt themselves from that condominium provision of the law. And that's what this does. And Town Board of Bolton, we passed a resolution that supports this, and also I believe Warrensburg and others, many others have passed comparable resolutions
in front of the governor.
Right. Now you have to remember, the session ends here on June 7th. I mean, the end of the session is right upon us here. But the New York State Assessors Association, I know, supports this completely, and has been working on this for some time, I can tell you. And we have people that you know here in Bolton, Dan Ream and others, that have wanted this for a very, very long period of time, but there didn't seem to be any appetite in Albany to want to change this. Perhaps, and I use the word perhaps that is changing. We hope it's changing. And that's the answer, Mr. McGowan.
Supervisor Stroud, real quick.
And again, two things, I would be opposed to amending this because I think it addresses it. First of all, home rule. Each municipality has a right to home rule. I don't want to take that away. And you don't have to opt for this. The second thing is, the fourth whereas says we are proposing to exempt newly constructed condominiums so that they don't get the unfair tax break that puts the burden on the rest of them. So home rule already addressed. I would be opposed to amending this any further, and the town board passed this unanimously as well. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask real property tax, Lexi.
So this resolution was brought to us through the local assessors in our county. All throughout New York State, they are trying to get the counties to support the Assessors Association that have been after this for years. It's not just been a single year, it's been multiple years that they have tried to get the governor to put this through. So really, this resolution is more so a support resolution from the county for what the assessors are asking for. So I would recommend that we leave it the way it is, because that's what the Assessors Association throughout New York State is looking for.
I get it. Half a loaf is better than no loaf at all. I get it. I understand. It doesn't have the teeth it should have, but that's the world we live in, and that's how government works sometimes. You just got to take a little bite. When the whole plate's there full of food, you're allowed one little bite. I get it. So, is this a good supporting resolution? No, doesn't go nearly far enough, but it's a start, I guess. That's how it's being sold. It's something, it's better than nothing. So I'll withdraw my motion based on that, but it's obviously still hurting the taxpayers significantly.
You concur?
I concur.
Okay. Anybody from the public? Because I haven't heard any public comments on any of these resolutions yet. Supervisor Thomas.
Yes, could I have a roll call on Florida Resolution 6, which I think is now Resolution 281? Again, I don't have a problem with the holiday. I have a problem with the $115,000 that this holiday is going to cost. My own personal opinion, it could have a different name than Juneteenth to talk about what it really stands for is the emancipation of the slaves. And I think it tends to take away from the people, from New York, especially that fought in the Civil War to accomplish this. And that seems to get left behind all the time. And
Thank you.
so that's just my comments on that. And if I may, I have one, 283, the resolution with the Sheriff's Department. Would it be proper for me to try to amend this now, or should this go through committee? Because I think this should be a standing position, as long as the restrictions are there. That's the contingent officer.
I think we'll take it to committee if you're okay with that. We've got so many floor resolutions.
Not the original, not this resolution, but
Bring another one.
we'll bring another one.
Any other discussion, Supervisor Connell?
Yeah, just to carry on what Supervisor Thomas has brought up, because I think it's an excellent point, because we have other departments where we have people that are retiring, but those positions to be filled correctly have to have people in positions being trained sometimes 6 months in advance of those people leaving. We have one department, 3 people, I think 2 or 3 people are leaving. And so their organizational structure does not lend itself to doing that. And so it's not simply always somebody leaving. It could be a retiree, it could be whatever. And so I think some thought needs to be given. I think Mr. Thomas, Supervisor Thomas, has hit the nail right on the head. I think we have to give some thought to how we deal with this going forward. It would seem to me that, part of this process we have may be a little clumsy to deal with that. And maybe within the budget, perhaps we could even deal with it within the budget. I don't know. So I support that thinking. I'm thinking specifically of the code enforcement office. Is Mr. Bruno here? Mr. Bruno's not here today. Mr. Bruno, that we've been dealing with in committee. So, and I'm sure there are other departments. Thank you.
Okay, can we vote on resolutions? Is everybody fine of voting on resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Amanda.
Resolution number 234, making supplemental appropriations. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Merlino. Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
and Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution 235. Amending Warren County budget for 2023 for various departments within Warren County. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yeah.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution 259. That is authorizing agreement with SUNY Adirondack for occupants tax funding for reimbursement of monies expended for the construction and installation of a synthetic turf recreational field. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Merlino. Oh, sorry, he's absent. Stroud,
Yeah.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Oh.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution 266. Authorizing the appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated fund balance to provide funding for capital project number H426 Regional Morgue Facility, amending 2023 Warren County budget. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. 267, establishing capital project number H426 Regional Morgue Facility, authorizing transfer of funds and amending Warren County budget for 2023. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond.
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
and Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. 268, authorizing the appropriation of funds from the vehicle reserve to the Department of Public Works budget, Probation Department budget, Department of Health Services budget, and Department of Social Services budget to cover the cost of replacing vehicles and amending 2023 Warren County budget. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 269. Authorizing the appropriation of funds from the Computer Reserve Fund to the Information Technology Budget to purchase computers and related equipment and software, amending 2023 Warren County budget. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yeah.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yeah.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 270. Authorizing the appropriation of funds from the occupancy tax reserve to the tourism budget to make payments to the towns, village of Lake George and the city of Glens Falls and amending 2023 Warren County budget. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yeah.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Conover.
Yeah.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy.
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 271. Authorizing the appropriation of funds from the occupancy tax reserve to the tourism budget to make awards to F. Cavone Productions and the Warren County Historical Society and amending 2023 Warren County budget. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yeah.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 272. Authorizing the appropriation of funds from the occupancy tax reserve to the tourism budget to make an award to SUNY Adirondack and amending 2023 Warren County budget. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yeah.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
No.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 275, supporting local share contribution plan for SUNY Adirondack to achieve 33% rate by fiscal year 2028-29. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
No.
Beatty,
No.
Steck. No. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
No.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
and Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 276, waiving the standing rule of the board relating to the requirement that all resolutions be approved through the established committee structure in advance of a board meeting in order to entertain a resolution amending resolution number 22 of 2023, appointing members to the Warren Washington County's Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation to fill vacancy due to resignation. Smith,
Recuse.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover.
Yeah.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 277, amending resolution number 22 of 23, appointing members to the Warren Washington County's Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation to fill a vacancy due to resignation. Smith,
Recuse.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Merlino. Oh, sorry, doing that. Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
Yes.
Runyon. Yes. Conover.
Yeah.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
McDevitt,
Yes.
Driscoll.
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Drossy,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes and resolution 281. Which is recognizing Juneteenth as an official paid holiday for all county employees and authorizing the chairman of the board to execute memorandums of agreement with all of the county's collective bargaining units to include same in the listing of paid holidays. Smith,
Yes.
Dickinson,
No.
Stroud,
Yes.
Wild,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Beatty,
Yes.
Steck. Yes. Thomas,
No.
Runyon,
Yes.
Conover,
Yes.
Leggett,
Yes.
Diamond,
Yes.
Frame, Bristol,
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Jurassic,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes and a collective on the rest.
Collective, all those in favor of the rest of the resolution signify by saying aye. Okay. Privilege of the floor and any public comment. Anybody wish to address the board? Okay, I'm gonna start right here. We'll go right around.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to comment. I was at it seems like quite a few years now at a meeting at Countryside that was called by Chairwoman Frazier to do a tour of Countryside relative to its condition. And I can remember that meeting so well. And I can remember then Supervisor Simpson at that meeting as well. And there was others and it was organized by Supervisor Frazier, and the product of that meeting was that, well, we really need to have a capital plan for Countryside. We really, the level of work that was required there was significant, and out of that, a capital plan was developed, and kudos to our planning office, of course, and to our public works department and our fine people that work at Countryside, and out of that came a grant applications and the projects of improvement that we see today. But tracking it all the way back was to Supervisor Frazier, really the quiet company here on this board, but very effective leadership. And so to everybody that's involved, kudos, and to Supervisor Frazier for really getting this going, shepherding it all of these years. I think it's a wonderful thing. And I just wanted to mention that today. Thank you.
Okay. I forgot, we need executive sessions. Somebody make a motion for us to go in executive session. Motion by Supervisor Runyon, second by Supervisor Frazier. All those in favor? Aye.
The reasons for the executive session before we vote on it under Public Officers Law 105D, discussions regarding current and potential litigation, specifically the John David